big game or concert, we're giving away tickets to the Outlaw Music Festival, Jack White, Guns N' Roses, and plenty more. Enter today, KFAN.com, keyword contests.
Part 2 with Jonny Athletic. He is on the telephone via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. We are at Vikings training camp, practice probably winding down, and we expect to visit shortly in the 4 o'clock hour with KOC and Kevin Seifert as well. Jonny, I don't know if we need to spend a lot of time on this, but let's clear the deck on it either way. Either to keep hopes alive or to dash them on the rocks. The Kuminga name keeps coming up because he's still out there, I think. So is there is it an utter fantasy to think there's a way to get him here? Do we even want him here? Because the guy's, not everybody loves him necessarily, but what can you tell us about Wolves fans who fantasize over somehow landing Jonathan Kuminga?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to people within the organization. There is interest in Jonathan Kuminga. Now, I want to couch all of that because, as you've known, and as people who've listened to me on this show and followed my reporting, like generally speaking, when there is a even somewhat high profile player who might be available, the Wolves are very aggressive and they try to get after those players, and it doesn't always work out, but they do want to make a pitch to Jonathan Kuminga about coming here. Now, it is a very long shot because Kuminga, one of the reasons that he's still out there is he's waiting for some real money to come his way, up north of $15 million, up into $20 million at one point. I think that price is dropping now because of the way that the market has dried up. But what the Wolves can offer is, hey, we have an open power forward spot. You can come here, you can play, and you can you can rebuild your value over the course of the next season. You're going to get a lot of playing time. You're going to play on a good team, and we need you against teams like Oklahoma City, maybe against San Antonio, some of those bigger teams. And so they are trying to impress upon him that maybe they can't pay him what other teams would, but if he wants to give a bet on himself year and come here and play, he will get every opportunity to put up really big stats, to get a lot of attention, and maybe get back into the market next summer. So I wouldn't hold my breath on it, but I'd still be skeptical if it actually happens. But yeah, they're interested, and he fits the position of need, and they would love to have him if he's willing to come here.
Quick, kind of left over now that we're past the adrenaline rush. LeBron James question. Is it possible, because I know there are some people who look at the fit there and they think that Philadelphia, I don't know what podcast it was, suggested that Philly will have, if healthy, the best starting five in the history of basketball, which I thought was interesting. But beyond that, is there any chance, given, and the other stat I saw, I think today, was if you do the old usage rate deal, that the usage rate on all the main players on this team comes to like 150%. So the obvious question is, that ain't going to work. They ain't going to compute. You're going to have a lot of people used to having the ball playing differently or being willing to defer, and maybe they will. I don't know. Is there a chance this thing could actually explode, blow up in the Sixers' faces, or is that too cataclysmic?
I mean, there certainly is a chance, Dan, for a number of reasons. One, I think first and foremost is the one that you hit on, is just that you have so many guys who like to have the ball in their hands, and will they be tripping over each other? Will it be my turn, your turn? And will it just be really clunky and hard to get anyone in any real rhythm? But the second thing obviously is health. With LeBron at 41, with Joel Embiid, who is never healthy, if those things don't work out, then obviously things get much, much more difficult for that team. The one thing I will say though is, like, I don't think you could ever categorize it as it blowing up, because they're paying LeBron the league minimum. And so they had nothing to lose, literally, by bringing in one of the best ever. So it is very possible that it will not work, that the pieces just won't fit together. But I would expect that you will see a LeBron James that is much more facilitator. There's been talk about him actually playing the point guard in that offense and just letting others kind of carry the load from a scoring standpoint, which might be great for him from a health and just kind of saving his body situation for most of the year. And so he is so smart that I think he will figure out what they need from him and do that. But there's a ton of talent, but yeah, it's not guaranteed that they're going to be in the finals, that everything is going to work together. But if I had to bet, I would bet that it does work versus that it doesn't.
All right, you're not at training camp yet. I'm assuming sooner or later you'll Bigfoot your way out here, to give the
I will
big
get out
picture
there, yep.
That some of the little people for the Athletic just can't see the forest for the trees the way you can. We know that. So I'm going to give you this toss-up question. This is the old 0 to 10 question, 10 being a deadlock cinch, 0 meaning being no chance, of course. The number you would assign to Kyler Murray not only having a great season this year, but a season that inspires the Vikings to lock in and commit to him with a long-term contract.
Okay, so yeah, I would have to put that at we're talking like a Sam Darnold level year, but instead we're assuming that he wins a game in the playoffs or something like that. Does
for the
something
purposes
enough
of this,
to say,
yeah, right?
Yep, that we have to keep him. Like he's just he is that good. So I would put that at 4. Just because I just look at, there's a lot of questions to answer. I think he can do it. I think that KOC can tailor the offense to him, but this is not, to me, an immediately intuitive fit of quarterback and offense with it. We think and we know that Kevin O'Connell really likes his system, the way that he wants to run it. And so I think if he could kind of conjure the perfect quarterback to fit what he wants, that's not Kyler Murray. It's not an undersized kind of scrambler who has a really good arm, but just he has a lot of questions to answer. And so I would not bet on that happening, but I do think it's possible. So I don't think it's a 0 or a 1, but I also don't think we're at 7, 8, or 9 in terms of yes, it's likely that this offense is just going to find another gear, that the Vikings are going to storm through the regular season and have some level of success in the playoffs to the point where it says, you know what, we have to keep Kyler Murray for $40 million, $45 million, or whatever it would cost going forward for the long term.
You know what? I think I know. I've figured out where you're coming from here. Here's my theory. You're already projecting Baker Mayfield, unrestricted free agent, coming to the Vikings next year. Maybe you look at him as more of a KOC kind of a guy, although I don't think he's incredibly tall, is he? I think he's a little taller than Kyler.
No, I don't think so.
So that's what you're angling for, right? And let's just go ahead. We had a decent season with you. You go on and get your money someplace else. We'll spend the big bucks on Baker Mayfield. That you're already looking ahead, aren't you?
Well, either that or I've just been classically conditioned to believe that's the case, right? I mean,
yeah, right.
I'm from here. I grew up. That would be the Viking way, right, Dan?
It would be. Yes.
Is going out, is going bridge quarterback to bridge quarterback to bridge quarterback. And so if it played out as most Vikings fans have experienced this franchise for most of their lives, it would be the Vikings have a good year. They play well. They're competitive. They're not terrible. They're never terrible. They go out there and they play well. Maybe they get into the wild card mix. Maybe they lose in the wild card game. And then you're like, you know what? Kyler was good, not great. Another team wants to give him a little more than we're comfortable with. And, here's Baker Mayfield, another 30-plus-year-old quarterback who's had some good times. And if we bring him in, we can resurrect him around with all of our weapons, with KOC, the quarterback whisperer. That would be the Viking playbook to a T. Yeah. So in that way, I think I would bet on that more just because we've seen that so often over the history of this franchise.
Although the interesting thing there is you probably would have to spend a decent amount of money in that situation. I think he's going to be, unless he's terrible this year, I think he's going to be a little better positioned than Kyler Murray was. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But you said that kind of defines Vikings football at the quarterback position, which I think, Garza and I have talked about this a lot the last couple of years, is exactly why McCarthy was so attractive a concept. Now, the problem is his quarterbacking had to match the theory, right, and the fantasy of we don't have to project about, well, what about Mayfield next year? Might he be somebody we can plug in, because you don't have to do the plug-in thing every 2 or 3 seasons, or maybe even every season.
Well, and that's where I think there's a real argument, Dan, that the best case scenario for the Vikings is for J.J. McCarthy to win the job.
I am with you 100%.
It's for him to outplay Kyler Murray, to grab hold of it, to show that leadership, and then to emerge as this very promising young quarterback who you can hitch your wagon to for the next 5+ years, and that is your plan. Because I think, maybe Kyler Murray has this out-of-nowhere MVP-level season and really solidifies himself, but I have a feeling like if he wins the job and plays well, you're still going to be wondering in a couple of years, is this our guy? Is this our guy? Where,
no question.
As if McCarthy does win it and grab hold of it, hey, there, now problem solved here for the next foreseeable future, and that would be great.
We appreciate your flexibility today. We're preparing for KOC because it looks like practice is wrapping up, and we will talk to you next week, if not sooner. Thanks, Johnny.
All right, thanks, Dan.
John Krasinski, Johnny Athletic, helping us out. We're at Vikings training camp. He's on the phone, and as we said, we expect a visit with Kevin O'Connell, our yearly head coaches visit. First day we were out at training camp. That is coming up next.
Before we go, the fan at BigTech.com and give you a shot to win bonus bucks. The National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is bank. Keyword bank. KFAN.com. Keyword bank.
You're listening to Barreiro, live from training camp on The Fan. Presented by the Minnesota Sports and Events.
Minnesota Vikings football is back. You can find our Mall of America Street team at Vikings training camp every day for your chance to score awesome prizes, including Mall of America mystery cards and tons of other great prizes. Get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Looks like practice has indeed wrapped up for this Monday. This is the first day in pads, correct?
Correct.
Which goes back to why it's such a fool's gold game, even to evaluate quarterbacks, everybody. In the how many practice days have we had? We didn't practice Sunday. We practiced Saturday and Friday and
Friday, Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And, if you look good, you look good, but you're back to, Guardsy, it's almost a waste of time. We all are in this together. We all have to do what we have to do. Even now, right? The quarterback is protected, right? You can't hit him. If
they're
you hit
wearing
him,
red.
You get cut.
Yep, they're wearing the red.
Yeah. So,
well, like Flo said today, real football starts today. That's what he said.
Is that what he said?
That's what Flo said. Yeah.
But it's actually semi-real.
It's not still completely real.
You can't nail the quarterback.
You're right.
Now I know they allegedly evaluate plays. Well, this would have been a sack.
Yeah.
Even if it looks like a completion, if the QB, if the defensive pass rusher had been able to do what he wanted to do, it would be over, correct?
That was the best part of what you started the show with a year ago when PA was very negative about what was going on with 9. He made a really nice play, and we were trying to highlight it. J.J. McCarthy said, looks right there. He had a nice pass to whoever it was, and PA just leaned over and goes, would have been sacked.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's exactly the same
That
thing.
was how the whole – and literally, like I said, we didn't know then. I thought that was the PA bit, and it may have been, but whatever it was, it ended up being true. Because it was a painful year.
Yeah.
Got better. We both said it. Johnny has said it. I think it's pretty clear Kyler's going to start. But the best case scenario, if you're a Vikings fan, is somehow McCarthy is just so good that
It'd
they
be
go,
great.
we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, it would be great.
Because then you can start the clock, allegedly, right? That's the idea, and not have to speculate, well, who's out there next year? A lot of good college quarterbacks coming into the draft next year. It's like, do you really want to keep going over that?
So if it's Drake Lindsey, yeah.
No, that's true.
If it's Drake Lindsey,
that's your guy.
We'll move it.
All right, let's do this. Let's get a quick pause in, get ahead of the schedule. That's why we're shortening things up. And when we come back, we should expect Kevin O'Connell, Kevin Seifert later this hour as well. Please don't go away.
Minnesota Vikings training camp coverage happens all week
on the radio home of the Vikings, The Fan.
Presented by the...
Welcome some great shows to the Minnesota State Fair Grandstand. Weird Al Yankovic will be there August 28th. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis August 29th. Get complete details on all of our upcoming shows on the concert page, KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
It's getting breezier as we get, and I guess that's often happens here at TCO Performance Center.
Yep.
Vikings practice, rearview mirror. We're expecting the head coach to stop by here fairly soon. And right now, there's a lot of, it's sort of that period, Guardsy, where family members, faith, family, and football.
Exactly.
They're all on the field, hobnobbing.
In that order.
Taking photos, shooting the breeze.
Yep.
Maybe some of them are unofficially doing some kind of betting, like setting up some kind of a betting odds on who do you think the Vikings starting quarterback will be. I mean, that probably happens. Is that illegal?
Yes. For them?
Is it?
Yes.
Even for, family members?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to be involved in it.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Yeah.
Probably too.
If you're in the WNBA, you can do whatever, and they're not going to punish you.
What was their explanation on that originally? Was it just that it's not...
I think it was just...
We're playing around. Everybody knows that they know you can't really bet.
I think that's it. And
then they eventually decided that maybe it'd be a good idea to take the thing down.
Take it down.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
So we do apologize for the wind. We'll do the best we can as KOC approaches the stage, so to speak, the exclusive KFAN radio perch for his weekly, I should say, well, it's not weekly. It's a yearly visit with us. It goes back to at least Leslie Frazier, maybe Brad Childress. I'm not exactly sure. There is indeed, look at this, the head coach with a full jug of life water. That's a nice one.
It's so emotional.
We wondered what you were going to come up with this year. It's outstanding. One of my favorites, actually. Oh, and it's triple filtered. Not double filtered, not single filtered, but triple filtered. Welcome back. I feel like it was only yesterday that we were chatting a year ago. Yeah, the wind is a little tough, so do the best you can with that. And Guardsy he's a master engineer, so he'll try to work through all of that too. We were talking before you came here. We were giving it some thought. What about this year? Here's what you're accustomed to from a media standpoint: a weekly visit with PA and a once yearly visit with me. How about we reverse that? You do a yearly, just one-time visit with PA for this season, and weekly you're on with me. How long do you think you could handle that? Mike Zimmer did for how many seasons, Guardsy?
5 or 6.
Several seasons Mike was on, and it got cranky. I'm not going to lie to you, but it was Mike Zimmer.
You're going about this the wrong way. The cranky would not come from me. You know exactly who it would come from.
It might come from me.
Well, no.
Oh,
you're missing
from PA. Yeah, that's a really good point.
That would be.
You don't think you would take to that well?
Well, then what would happen is our pregame show that we tape would turn into a 45-minute.
That's true.
Hangout in a lot of ways. But no, I'm. Dan, I will say this. I always look forward to this.
We do too.
I appreciate you so much coming out here and getting to spend some time with you.
Well, the hard part is you're doing a show during practice, so we can't watch it as closely as we would like, and then we hear somebody go, "Whoa!" What just happened there? But I think it's still good to be on the scene. We had Chuck Foreman on earlier, who I know you know very well, and Chuck confirmed, by the way, a fascinating story. Fran Tarkenton had claimed that part of the reason the Vikings have struggled in his Super Bowls, they were 0-4. I'm sure you've been here long enough to know that as a team. I think Joe Kapp had one of those. But anyway, that they didn't in the 2 weeks. The first of the 2 weeks, the Vikings never practiced, and that Fran was frustrated by that, never understood it, and I'd never gotten confirmation from anybody else who played on those teams, and Chuck did too. And Chuck said the same thing, said, we hated it, we were ready to go. It's the Super Bowl, and it just fascinates me because I assume these days there's no chance that you'd take a full week off. You might maybe take a couple days, right? But does that surprise you? As legendary as Bud is?
I can tell you back in 2021, my life would have been a lot different if Sean McVay gave us the full week off. No, the way we looked at it as we could get the game plan in as if we were going to be practicing and then playing that weekend. So then what happens? Then you got to fight, just like you do for the opener.
Right.
You got to fight the volume. You got to fight the over analysis that you can do. Well, maybe, is that angle right? Should we be going deeper on this? Should this be a wide zone instead of a tight zone? And that happened a little bit, but I know our players, because when the actual week comes, especially nowadays, we were a home team playing in LA in our home stadium when we won in 2021, but there's still so many layers to that week, from family coming in to the distractions of worldwide media covering the game, and so you really have to make sure you have your players' attention for both weeks. Now that doesn't mean that
you have to go
you're going to be going tackling live, like you may do some weeks depending on when your bye week is throughout the season. You might get a little work here and there, but at this point you've played so long. Sure. The week is really not going to do much. Maybe for the speed guys getting their legs back a little bit, but it's going to be the Super Bowl. So, by the time that game comes around, you would rather be as prepared as possible. And I don't know what the particular reasons were that they did that at that time. Maybe there was something that caused them to do that. But no, it has definitely changed. Especially the year we went.
Well, I was reminded when we were talking with Chuck that, and I'm sure you know this, players forget nothing, because
oh my goodness,
he mentioned, one of his other complaints was we tried to reinvent the wheel. We thought we were going to outsmart them, and it's like, let's just do what we do best. An example he gave, it's like, it's 3rd and 1 from the 1. He's expecting to get the ball, go over the top. He's the guy they fake to. He becomes the blocker. The running back who gets it fumbles the ball. So it's amazing. I mean, how long? I mean, it's decades ago, and Chuck is relating this stuff like it just happened yesterday. These guys don't forget.
No, there's times where
I'm sure as coaches you don't forget either, right?
Well, no, that's the curse of it all. Yeah. Is you remember. I remember vivid play calls and plays that I told our team the other night. 2022, that playoff game. I play out that 2-minute drive in my head often, but I also remember vividly the 4th and inches when we called a hard count and jumped off sides and took the 3 instead of what I wanted to do in the moment. We had the momentum in the game. Let's go get 7, and like we had done many times in 1-score games that year, get that lead. And then our defense did that year, even though maybe statistically we weren't a great defense. We did play well in the 2-minute in the phase when guys like Daniil and some of our pass rushers could, kind of tee off in that true known passing situation. And we take the 3, they get 7, and then the rest is history. But you think about those things often. I can talk to Justin Jefferson or Jordan about a route, and they will vividly remember the first time they ran it, what it felt like, the leverage they got from a defender. Was there safety over the top or not? It's wild how they remember, especially the things from certain games that stick with them.
I'm obligated obviously to talk about the quarterbacks, because I know you love talking about it as much as possible. You can't get enough of it. But it struck me as you're laying that out too, is I don't think we talked about this before, and I'm not going to have probably another chance to do it with you. I don't know if the plans are for one of the preseason games you do what you've done the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. But I've said on the radio several times that's been that's the only time I've ever enjoyed a preseason game, because in effect what you were telling it, basically you were letting us know almost every time what was going to happen before it happened, and then you were explaining it in real time like you're a color analyst. So how did
you're talking about when
you're on the broadcast live.
No, we're doing that again.
How did you come to that? Because I think it's terrific.
Well, one of the things, it was an idea that Sean McVay, when I was in LA, he did something similar. It wasn't exactly the same. He didn't have the actual coaching headset on, and I only wear one side. Right. So I said, why don't I put the earpiece in my right ear, and I could hear PA and Pete and Ben and just the broadcast, the clock counting down in and out of breaks and things, but I could also still coach and have the headset. So it is pretty wild, but it's also something that I kind of enjoy, because it gives people insight into that is what my mind is doing during each and every play, whether we're on offense, we're on defense, in the kicking game. My friendly banter with the officials.
Yes.
Even in a preseason game, I want the players on the field to do well, and I want them to have the best chance to show not only us but the whole league what they can do. So you're constantly trying. I may not be calling those plays, but I might give Wes a suggestion, or I might talk to the guys during the break about defensively. Hey, they're running a lot of this,
sure.
and Flo may not be calling it, but Flo and I are having dynamic about back and forth about the game. But I do enjoy it, and I think about the fan of
it helps.
It's a preseason game,
right.
And we might not have Justin Jefferson and all of our guys out there, but I thought it would be. I would want to watch it if I was, if it was one of the other 31 head coaches doing it. A, to see if they could, because there's a lot going on, and B, I just think it's entertaining, and that's what we're. That's the number one reason. Our fans hopefully find our team and what we do here entertaining. And if I could be a part of it for one little sliver of time, especially in a preseason game, I think it's great. I appreciate that.
No, I'm glad you're going to continue to do it, because it's been terrific, very unusual. I'm going to read you a quote from Jordan Hogan. Used to be, well, you probably know the name, Cardinals and Niners, on Kyler. He wants to live in the pocket. He wants to be a pocket passer. He does not want to run around, because that's how you get hurt at that level, and he knows that. Do you agree that that's Kyler's mindset, and is that what you want from him?
You know what, I would say this is when I really studied him, you could see great examples of him playing in rhythm and going through progressions, and if the pocket allowed him to, you would see him stand in there and make some throws. I mean, he did it today a couple times with, the first day of pads is always that different feeling for these quarterbacks than it's been the first 3 or 4 days when, guys might, maybe not press into some of those bull rushes up the middle of the pocket, or those edges might be not as sharp coming off the edge. And I always like watching the quarterbacks, because how they feel it that first time is normally what they would do when you ramp it up even a little bit more in a real game. But he sat in there, and here's what I know about Kyler. He's smart. He has been in some systems where maybe, as the competitor that he is, this guy competes now, and he does not like losing. He's been a guy basically the better part of his whole life. He's been very, very talented, always well thought of, nationally as a kid, even in baseball and all the things that he's ever done. What I would say is he is excited to be a part, and he really sought out being a part of our system and playing with the players he gets to play with. And I think he's excited about the idea of being able to maybe take the Superman cape off, and just pitch and catch and throw completions and move the team. He had some good examples of that at the Saturday practice the other day. It was, I think he was, pretty darn close to, if you're grading it out, he was pretty darn close to what you're looking for. And he kind of said it didn't feel real hard. I just had to do what I've been coached to do, and just play what I saw and have decisive decisions, stack one another, and he moved the team, and he moved the ball, and I think that was a good thing for him to feel. But at the same time, he's a gifted player when the pocket breaks down, and not all of those situations are the same, Dan. Like, what is the D&D? Where are we at in the game? Where are we at on the field where, my play call might dictate, if we get the coverage, this coverage or that coverage, we might have a chance to rip a touchdown off, or we might have a chance to move the chains on a 3rd and long. But if we don't get those things, I'm basically giving you the green light to put the ball in play, throw a completion, and let me make a decision on 4th and 3 at the plus 36-yard line, whether I'm going to send Will out there or we're going to go for it. But don't think you've got to take over all those situations to where if the outcome isn't exactly what we desire, that you got to go win the game on that play. And that comes down to also when you do break contain. And JJ's a guy, you think about, when he has gotten injured, hasn't necessarily been in the pocket. He's gotten out. He's a competitor, and he wants to finish a play, get that extra yard. And what happens from there? These are big, strong, fast people that you're playing football against, and you just have to know. I'd rather have, it's well documented when we have our starting quarterback in place for an entire season. We've won 14 and 13 games, and I would like to take that route than the play 4 guys or play 3 guys, even though I do think we're going to be as prepared as ever to do that if need be.
Kevin O'Connell, kind enough to join us after practice today. I want to draw an analogy between your decision to go to sign Kyler and the Timberwolves' decision to trade for LaMelo Ball in this way. The Cardinals, you got him in part because the Cardinals said, we're done with him. He can go on, and we're even going to pay him a lot of money to leave.
Yep.
Charlotte just had one of its best seasons this last year, and yet when the Wolves called, they said, yeah, you can take him. So how, as a coach, do you get past why is he available? I've asked the same question of Tim Conley. Do you have to run through that concern that, what are we missing something that he might be lacking because the team that he's leaving is making him so available? How did you get through that?
First and foremost, it's got to be about the evaluation of what you see on the tape. I've known Kyler. That's the benefit of me. When I got done playing, I got a chance to be around kind of the quarterback space in a few months before I took my first job. And I got a chance to meet a Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray actually at the same time. In Oregon at the opening that Nike used to put on. I don't know if they still do that or not. And I got to be, submerged in that group of guys for a week. And it's like summer camp. You're there, you're around him, you're building relationships. I learned he was competitive, just like I learned Sam was competitive. I learned he was naturally talented, just like I learned about Sam in those moments. And not to compare the two, because I think that's an easy kind of route to take. But to answer your question, I think what you do is you got to look at the tape, and then you got to think about the world you're going to be bringing him into. And in many cases, I never, ever want to spend time talking to a player we bring in about the past, about, this is why some of these things happen. That's not for me to figure out. It is for me to figure out how best to put them in a world where they walk in here every day and they see at the end of the tunnel the best version of themselves, hopefully, and it can look a lot of different ways. Talent is a big part of it, though, in the evaluation. Can you, when in doubt, can you point A to point B and throw the football accurately? And I think all the guys that kind of fall into that space, they've got some experience that you can really tap into, because it is really hard to play quarterback in the NFL, especially when you don't have maybe some of the things that we've tried to build in this building for the quarterback, in that locker room for the quarterback, the culture of our team for the quarterback. That all matters when you're attempting to bring a guy in like that and then give him the runway to compete and hopefully become what he believes he can become. And that's the last part of it, Dan, is what does the player deep down believe in that moment that they're capable of doing? Because if I believe it, that doesn't mean anything. We can't hit the reset button and then have to build back up. It's more of our jobs are to take that player and unleash hopefully their potential that they see in themselves. And that's the best thing about coaching, and it's kind of, I'm sure there's people out there rolling their eyes about it, but it's why I do what I do, and why I love doing, why I got into this job in the first place. And now there's a whole team and an organization that I dearly love that I care about on a daily basis, but it still comes down to an individual player that you want to show the pathway to and help him improve.
Another quote I want to get your reaction to is from Don Shumpert. I think the play caller will hold him to a high standard, and he needs a coach who's going to be on him, not let him get away with the little things. The quote struck me because I guess you could argue everybody, even great players, need to be coached and need to have people on them. But when you hear it said that way, to me it almost seems to imply that might be a little bit of a red flag in the past about letting little things go, and that details, you know this better than I do, matter at the position. So was that at all a red flag to you, or do you say you welcome that? What does that quote tell you about him, about Kyler?
Well, once you know that the guy is baseline plenty talented enough to do it and plenty smart enough to do it, now you can build a world where you layer your teaching with the why always. These players are smart enough and they're more than capable enough to hear the why, and when you make the why attached to those details, they understand that motion snap point needs to be right there, so that we can, even on a wide zone play, that we can collect the leverages and angles that we're even trying to get in the first place. Otherwise, we would just stand there and ask our guys to block the guy across from them. Or on a pass play, why we need to make sure we take this drop and have our feet and eyes set in this area, because the rhythm of the whole play might be tied to it. So if you're off by a little bit, or you need a little bit of an extra fundamental at the top to get into a good throwing position, then you're behind when the backside in cut comes wide open, and then you're behind when the check down's wide open. But you got to do, and it just waterfalls from there in a way you don't want it to go. And these guys learn the offense. They watch the clips. They see Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, and they see Matthew Stafford doing some things, and it goes back beyond that. And they can see the pathway, hopefully, to, we talked about it a few minutes ago, of what is out there for me if I do it this way. And then I'm always telling these guys, I still want you to go play. We're trying to build this inventory of decision-making and a rhythm in your mind of how these games are going to go, because then you just get to show up and the game happens and you can go play. And you don't even really realize these habits that you formed are now the driving reason why the game has slowed down or seems more easy, or I just feel like I'm pitching and catching out there. I've seen it before. I've seen it with, one of the best years I've ever experienced was the 1 year I got in L.A. with Matthew Stafford. There's nobody more talented. There's nobody tougher. There's nobody more willing to put the team on their back to go try to win. But even he, in those moments, and he's talked about it, what it's like to be coached hard and be held to a standard. And in many ways, you're looking for ownership of it. So,
sure. Yeah.
Dan, it's not always me just saying, hey, this is how we do it and this is why. It's, what do you guys think about this, first of all? Because it's, it's well documented what I was as a quarterback. I know all of this is hard to me to physically do it. So what do you think about that? No, Coach, that's actually, I like that. Or, hey, what if we did it like this and then you incorporate that? That's one of the reasons why I think we've had some success at times when multiple players play, because when Carson Wentz came into the game last year with no training camp, it wasn't what me or Wes or anybody else wanted to do. It was, what could Carson feel comfortable running that he could go out there and function as if he had 5,000 hours or 500 reps of something, because there's a lot to bank in a career of playing quarterback, whether you have highs or lows or whatever it may be. There's a lot to pull out of that to help them hopefully have success with us.
They tell me I only get 2 more questions. I could do an hour with you easy, so I'm going to try to squeeze these in here.
It's probably my fault.
I appreciate the answers.
Word salads. Once a year I got to say that.
There's some of that. But
what happens is I just try to answer people's questions, and sometimes I really want to try to answer a question.
You're trying to be earnest, and what do? We mock, and we there goes the word salad guy again.
5 years later now, it's you wouldn't believe how cynical I've become.
Well, that's part of the process, unfortunately. Dan Orlovsky, you familiar with him?
Love Dan, yeah.
He said the other day, it was with your guy Adam Thielen. They were breaking down your offense the other day.
Stop teaching the whole world some of our plays.
He made it sound like your offense is literally the most complicated in the history of football.
No, he didn't. He said Justin was reading around.
But he made it sound like at the line of scrimmage there's like 50 variations instead of 5. Is that an exaggeration?
Close to that.
Adam,
I'll tell you what. When Adam was in our offense, he certainly had some ideas of his own, and I would literally say, Adam, how the heck am I supposed to coach that?
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Somebody told me about it, and then I texted him, and he sent me the.
Here's the Money Orlovsky quote. Basically, he said, whoever starts a quarterback for you has to understand that the head coach is the star of this offense. A, is that true? And B, is that necessarily a good thing? Now, you dropped your head, so I'm going to guess you're not going to love that either.
What we try to do, Dan, is we try to be problem solvers before Sunday. And we try to be problem solvers with the offense that we have, where we always want to have answers for the quarterback. Yep. And when you have a guy like Justin Jefferson, we can watch 8 games of breakdowns leading into a game, and that first drive, we're still going to see a team play defensively different against him than they have maybe against many other premier receivers in the league, because it has been shown when you allow him to have the type of day he's capable of, we normally do pretty well, and we're normally a hard team, especially with our defense. Can we get that lead? If Justin's catching explosives, we're going to score points, and then you got to play against Flo in that defense when we have a lead, and that is not fun for anybody. It's part of the reason why, in addition to running the football more last year, now we want to continue to evolve and grow that aspect of our team of running the football, because if people are going to be so stubborn of how they defend our skilled players and Justin and Jordan being the driving factor behind that, we have to be able to run the football and take yards from people.
I love hearing you say that. And that's music to my ears.
And the issue is, it's easy to say run it and run it, and like last year with a young quarterback, you can do it, and it's great when you're 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, but when you're 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, those 2 runs, they put you in a position where, in the back of your mind, are we really getting this quarterback in a rhythm? Are we really helping him, not have to play the hard down every 3rd down that comes about? But to answer your, that is not the case. There's a reason why I always, when we win a game, it's my favorite thing. It's what I chase every day that I go to work, is those locker room moments where I wish I didn't have to say a word. I wish I could stand in the corner of the room and just watch our players, chase that joy that they find when you win in the NFL. It's hard to do.
I think you kind of like those speeches. I think you kind of like doing that.
Here's what I may do. Maybe we don't do once a week together, but maybe you just come in and you take those in that moment because
I don't think they listen to me.
Between getting ready to play the game, calling the game, dealing with those officials for 3.5 hours, I'm like, there's some days where I walk up there and everybody's waiting for me to say this.
Oh, maybe B-Flow. Let him do it every once in a while. I bet you probably do.
I definitely do, but he don't like that either.
He doesn't like that either.
He just wants to coach defense, man.
Speaking of opinionated wide receivers, you mentioned, we just talked about one of them, Chris Carter, very opinionated man, a guy I've interviewed for years, covered when he was here.
He was here the other day.
I know he was here the other day. I saw you guys kind of messing around. The other day, he's on a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast now. You probably know that by now. He says his sources indicate to him that it was Kwesi who was, this is his direct quote, driving the bus on drafting McCarthy, basically implying that you were kind of along for the ride. I find that hard to believe based on everything I've been told from the people who cover you every day. But can you address that and speak to that? Is Carter right?
Yeah, I can't really speak to his sources. I will just say this, Dan. It was a time and place in this organization where there was a lot of momentum from me included to draft a quarterback and to try to go get a quarterback that we felt like we can hopefully develop and build around under the premier development of what we thought we can do with time on task and having a guy like Sam that I had a ton of confidence would go out there and have a great year and we would figure it out after that. But I wanted the same thing happening now then. I wanted a competitive daily situation. And JJ, that first training camp, had gone out against the Raiders and played well, and we were going to go to those joint practices, and we were going to, I don't think I would have been asked, are the reps 50-50 or 55-45 or 60-40? I don't think people would have been asking that at that moment, but the only difference between now and then is 10 football games in 3 years. So we're really trying to do a lot of things right now, and with the best interests of A, the Minnesota Vikings and winning games, and B, making sure we give both these guys and really all of our team the best chance to go have success this year, coaching a lot of intricate details and things that matter. And we want to see these guys go out there and in that moment where maybe you can get complacent if a guy is capable of doing that at this level with the way we compete every day. We want to make sure that there's guys pushing each other. And every moment in the meeting room matters. Every moment on the grass obviously matters. But in regards to that, I would just say that, we were always going to, in that moment of time in this organization, once Kirk had moved on, it felt like the right time and place.
You didn't have to be convinced.
For a lot of people that we needed to add a young quarterback. And then you go into, it's a draft, Dan.
Yeah, that's right.
And we still feel so strongly about who JJ is and what he's made of and where his upside can get to, all while having lost an entire calendar year of development where we tried virtual reality.
Yes, right.
We tried, but nothing quite can mimic what you go through when you go through the.
It would be foolish to give up on
playing quarterback in the NFL, and we also want to make sure we're doing whatever we can because we've got a team we feel like we can win with.
Yeah.
And brought a player in here to add to, and getting Carson back. I love Carson Wentz, and getting him back in that room has been monumental for the other quarterbacks in that room, Max included, to have a veteran that has seen every possible street on the journey of playing quarterback in the NFL when you think about Carson's time. So I appreciate the question, and I would just say that I feel really, really good about what we're trying to do right now with the best of intentions for the players in our team, and that's what we attack every single day with I tried to say the other day I wanted to be transparent with all this. Outside of showing people the practice scripts every day, I'm not sure any more of what I can do to prove that. But I feel good about where it is right now.
Let me squeeze in one more about the running game now that I think about it. As I was reading a piece, something Mark Craig had written for the Star Tribune online. Coach Kevin O'Connell's decision to promote Keith Carter, he's basically saying he believes, I'm talking about Mark, the writer, I think the guy's going to make a big difference in the run game. And I know O'Connell feels that way. Now, I don't want to get too X's and O's-ish, but this fascinates me because when people say, it's hard for me to believe that an assistant coach can make that much difference, but is it a completely different way to look at the ground game? What is it that you guys have identified that you think might, if it's going to be a revolution, what does that mean? How does that manifest itself?
Well, I would combine a couple things. Keith, I think, is at this point in time in his career, with his own path to getting here, coming here off of the experience he had in New York, Keith has coached with and for some phenomenal coaches in the run game. He's got a great understanding of what it's supposed to look like, but most importantly, what it's supposed to feel like. And what I mean by that is I want to be able to stand at the line of scrimmage and feel a physicality and a way we run off the ball and a way we dedicate ourselves, mind, body, and soul, technique, fundamentals, and play style to the schemes we're trying to run. So that's the starting point. So I would look at Keith as really the engine behind that element. And then Frank Smith is a guy I wanted to bring in because Frank, working 4 years for a good friend of mine and Mike McDaniel, I really value Frank's ability to come in here, and after 4 years, sometimes you need somebody to pop the hood and just kind of take an overall assessment and then apply, some of the things that they've acquired in a totally different time and space that they can then come in here. And Frank's really smart. He's a really great communicator, and he's somebody that I can lean on, Wes can lean on, Keith can lean on, and really think tank the best way to get back to the true nature of what I believe efficient football is, which is running the football at a level that you can then impact some decision-making out of the defense. Sure. Do we still want to play this Justin Jefferson program? Do we still want to, play this as we're going to defend the pass on the way to stopping the run? You can't do that if we get to where we want to get to in the run game. And then the second phase of that is how do we marry it all together? How do we make the play style of that run game marry with how we play action? How the deception of people think everything starts out looking at the same, but it's different because we come off the football the same way every time. And as the head coach, I can't coach that on a daily basis. I can ask of it. I can hope that the individual drills and the team drills are tied to that. But in the end, I need somebody to conduct that orchestra in a way that it looks and sounds the way that I want it to. And in the end, I think we're on a great path to do that. It was a unique journey to Dan to come up with, that conclusion of Keith and Frank and bringing Derek in as the assistant from the college level who's got some different thoughts on things with that game. I know it's a question I love because it's a big time part of my off season this year where I think we need to go as an organization to hopefully do the things we're so dedicated to try to do for our fans.
So in effect, are you saying this offense was, at least in terms of the ground game, a little too finessey?
Well, I just think, with this will now get two X's and O's, which is where we didn't want to go. But when you're playing so much shell defense, which means two safeties, worried about Justin Jefferson, double teams, triple teams, that whole deal, there's only so many ways to defend the box. And what people have done is move the front. Make it really hard, not, slant the front, do things that a lot of teams do. Sure. Simulated pressures have become big in the NFL, but not give us sitting targets to where we can just run generic runs. So what we've got to do is impact things pre-snap with motions, different personnels, different ways of running the football, incorporate some gun run to help with the offset of some of the things we're doing under the center. Depending on who's playing quarterback, it's really not going to matter because I think both guys are going to be comfortable in that phase, but it's a whole lot of stuff that allows you to have a little bit more kick-ass to what you do on Sundays, and it's going to look different. Hopefully by the time we get through this month, when our fans see us open up against the Packers, it looks a little different. It feels a little different. You might not know the X's and O's, but you can tell when people move the guys in the other colored jerseys, and we gain yards running the football, and then a lot of good things will come from there if we're able to do that.
I really appreciate it. I mean to keep you so long, but I do enjoy the conversations, and I appreciate you hanging in and not getting too cranky. I didn't think you were cranky at all today. And I didn't think the word salad was that bad at all. I really didn't.
Well, I told myself walking over. I said it. Say it 10 times fast. No word salad. And you can do anything.
That's it.
I do always appreciate. I have fun.
I do too.
When you and I talk about. You always ask good questions, and it's fun to do this.
Well, I appreciate it. And like I said, if you want a week off from him, I'll come in. Probably you'll get sick of me after a while, but I'd do it 2 or 3 times if he wants the week off. But I think he's too possessive, probably.
You just got to know. You just got to be able to riff a little bit.
That's true.
I might show up at this time.
Yeah, you got to be flexible. I'm all right with that. I'm used to that. Used to that.
Thank you.
By the way, we all know the date you're going to make the announcement. So,
you do.
Quarterback, yeah.
You do, because I don't know that.
August 14th.
August 14th.
August 14th.
What day? What day of the week is that?
That's a weekday. I think that's right before the. Is that right before the? I think it's a couple days before the one of your joint practices. Isn't it right before that? Because you're going to want to have your starter name for those joint practices, are you not? I mean, realistically, that just makes sense by then. Because you say, that's it. You say those practices are very important to you in terms of your evaluation, right? Even maybe more than preseason games.
Yeah, and ideally, like I said when we opened up camp, I have a pretty general timeline.
Yeah.
As long as our practice schedules and plans stay the same, injuries and different things can always force us to kind of tweak and adapt how we're preparing. But you want to have you want to make sure you can be thorough, but then you want to make sure you give the guy that's going to be your starter ample time and the reps required, knowing that the preseason games are just a tough element in 2026, not just for me, for all coaches, just because you just learn the importance of your roster. It's on you to prepare them, however you have to prepare them to be ready for the season, but having those guys play 3 quarters for 3 straight preseason games and play 20 football games with what it is now and the physicality of it, it's just not smart, and we know better ways to prepare them for all that, and that makes it hard when you're trying to split reps and 51-49 and all that stuff. So.
I grew up on 6 preseason games.
It's unbelievable.
That's how old I am. 6. I can't even imagine what that would have been like for a coach.
I even feel bad. I mean, and we may be finding ourselves that maybe we can do this show potentially if we get the Hall of Fame game when.
There you go.
When Adrian goes in.
Thanks again, my friend. I appreciate it. Thanks,
absolutely.
Coach.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan.
KOC, Kevin O'Connell, kind enough to give us extended time today. We'll get caught up on our breaks. Kevin Seifert is scheduled to join as well, one of the media jackals who covers the team, of course, every day and is already trying to stir up everybody on the quarterback matter. And don't forget, we'll get to some texts, not texts so much as tweets before we are done as well. Please don't go waste. Training camp, our location, a bit windy, but we're still glad we're here.
You're listening to Barreiro.